Namaste everyone. Here in this topic we will going to talk about the desperation that we are observing among American politicians and the American bureaucrats. Why we are observing such kind of desperations? Why American politicians and the bureaucrats are coming into public and making very crash kinds of comments through the medias or the social media houses? Why? There are several reasons. One of the primary reasons is that the power of the United States is diminishing. The economic power of the United States is diminishing, as well as the power that they were using their weapons, because they have the power to use their defense forces to influence anyone's external and the internal policies. Right now, they are not able to do that. What is the reason behind that? Because there are three countries, those who have refused to live in a world which is ruled by the United States, rule-based order which has been dictated or which is being dictated by the United States. And these three countries are Soviet Union, Russia, China, and India. Russia, China, and India. These three countries are saying that they will not going to follow the order that the United States has already established. They want to make a different kinds of order that will going to give every countries a scope to breathe in the air, which will going to be peaceful, more peaceful than this world, because we are observing different kinds of war at this time and the tensions between the countries because of the interference of the United States government. Not directly, but indirectly, they are influencing several countries. And in case of India, they are very much desperate to bring India into their basket. And their desperations has came into public when Prime Minister Modi visited Russia and met with President Putin. And during the visit, Prime Minister talked on several issues with Putin, and those issues included economy, that issues included importing mineral from Russia to India, and also the geopolitical influence that the United States are having at this time, and how India will going to help Russia to resolve the matter which is going on in the Eastern Europe, that is Ukraine, because Russia is in the war with Ukraine and India is desperate to resolve that matter. But the India is not want to solve this matter in almost entirely with its own, because India wants other countries to get involved and wanted to solve that matter politically, and also if there are some issues that has to be resolved, and this will be the final solution. India is talking about final solution. But the US Ambassador Garcetti has almost threatened India, not directly but indirectly, and he talked about strategic autonomy, and he talked that the strategic autonomy cannot apply in times of conflict, and there is no such thing in the times of conflict as strategic autonomy. He said India that either you are with us or you are not, like the way they told Pakistan during the time of Afghan invasion of 2001 that either you are with us or you are against us. So these are the words that was thrown to Pakistan by President Bush during the time of 2001 invasion. And Indian government has not taken these words very lightly, and they have returned by saying that through the MEA spokesperson Randeep Jaiswal that India, like many other countries, values its strategic autonomy. The US ambassador is entitled to his opinion. We also have different views. Our comprehensive global strategic partnership with the US gives us the space to agree to disagree on certain issues while respecting each other's viewpoint. So you can clearly see that what the Indian government has tried to do, that buzz off. You do not have the right to interfere in our external matter or internal matter. But the United States is United States. United States has been trying to influence the internal matter, and they have already influenced India's general elections with the help of the different kinds of stooges that they used by the State Department to creating the disturbance in someone else's territory, that is you heard about George Soros and these open society foundations, and these foundations has already announced that they will going to influence India's elections, and for which they have already invested around $1 million. You can see their desperation, and in that desperations they already influenced, and they are now trying to influence by organizing a summit, by hiring different kinds of leftist and the communist influencer, YouTube influencer, to lecture on the issues, the burning issues that is going on within India and India's relationship with the other countries. But recently, when I went to the Twitter, then I did not found out that link. I think Indian government has made them understand what to do and what not to do within Indian territory. That is very important. India have to make them understood that what they are and what are the rights they have within the Indian territory. If they wants to influence Indian internal politics, then they do not have the right. If they wants to use some of the communist voices within the country to influence the Indian politics, then they do not have the right. If they wants to use some of the other communist groups to influence or create the menace in India, then the United States do not have the right. And recently, Jake Sullivan, during his interview at Aspen Security Forum, talked about India, China and Russia. And in his interview talked about that India will not going to forsaken their relationship with Russia, because India have a deep historical relationship, and he knows about that, and he knows about obviously 1971 when Russia helped India to liberate Bangladesh from the clutches of the dictator, which was Yahya Khan, the Pakistani dictator, who was helping or who was fomenting the war against Bangladesh. That was their own territory, that was known as East Pakistan. They were raping the women, the Pakistani soldiers from the west, raping women. They were killing Bengali population. So these are the things were being supported by the United States at that time. They sent their Pacific Fleet to defend Pakistan, but Russia was standing tall with India. They helped India to liberate Bangladesh. So that is why he said that India will not going to left Russia. So what they told, that they attack India through China. They use China to bait India, because India has a very complicated relationship with China as a result of 1962 Chinese invasion and China's occupation of Aksai Chin and China's illegal demand about or on Arunachal Pradesh. So they tried to allure India by baiting China. What they said, that the China is trying to make Russia as their partner and the secondary partner. And if China will going to get very much powerful, then it will not going to help India, or it will not going to help India during the time of contingency or crisis. That is known to India. That is a known fact to Indian government and Indian population, because China will never going to help India out of any contingency. That we saw during the time of COVID. During the time of COVID, China tried to invade Ladakh through Galwan Valley. And during that invasion time, 20 Indian soldiers lost their life and more than 60 Chinese soldiers lost their life. But China did not reveal the number. Why? What was the reason behind that? Because they are dictator. They do not have the human rights. They do not follow the rules that the other countries, other democratic countries do follow. So they pushed their agenda and they pushed their soldiers against India, and Indian government has pushed them. Indian government has already dealing with China, not with the help of the United States or any other countries, but being alone, they are trying to solve the matter of its own. So United States do not have the issues, or they do not have the say that what India will going to do with China and how India will going to resolve the matter with China. Whatever the matter is there, the Galwan is already there, and the Chinese soldiers are there at the border of India right now, in Ladakh. So these are the things they have tried to make Indian government understood, but India has its own plan, because India know that what United States is capable of, and India know the history of the United States. How do they change the regime? Because they are infamously known for the regime change during the time of Cold War. Soviet Union was also equally responsible for the regime change. But the United States is also responsible for changing the regimes in the different countries. They change the regime in Iran, they change the regime in Chile and the different other Central American countries. They never wanted the communist government in Central Asia or any part of the world. They went to the war against Vietnam. First, they went to the war against North Vietnam, because at that time the Vietnam was divided into two parts, North and South. South were being controlled by France or the United States at that time. And they first going into the war with North Vietnam, but they lost the war. Then in 1979, they helped Pakistan to do the proxy war against Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. And they changed the regime of Iran. The only democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran was Mossadegh, Mohammad Mossadegh. He was removed with the help of the CIA and with the help of the MI6. Why he was removed? Because he was talking about nationalism. He was talking about the oil, to control of the oil. Because at that time the oil was being controlled by the company called Anglo-Iranian Company, controlled by the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom was removed after Mossadegh came to power. United Kingdom went to his master, that is United States, and convinced Eisenhower that they have to invade or they have to do something to remove Mossadegh. And they came up with a plan. The CIA came up with a plan called the Operation Ajax, which laid the foundation stone of the Iran's first communist party. Can you believe that? An Islamic nation where the Communist Party was found with the help of the CIA, and that party's name was Tudor Party. And the UK's MI6 came up with Operation Boot. And with the help of these two operations, Mossadegh was eliminated, and Shah of Iran, the stooge of the United States or the titular king, came back to the power. But in 1979, the same thing happened. A coup again happened, and the Shah of Iran was removed, and Ayatollah Khomeini became the ruler of Iran. And even today, the Iran is being ruled by the Ayatollah, the blood reign of the Ayatollah. And Iran is a very complicated position. The radicalization is at peak. They are trying to build up the nuclear weapons, which will going to disturb the peace in the Western Asia, Middle East. So these are the things has happened, and recently the things has happened in around 2010 or 11. The spring, the Arab Spring. Who was behind the Arab Spring? The people says it was an organic protest, but it was not an organic protest. It was a protest that was orchestrated by the countries like the United States, United Kingdom, and the other countries, those who were the ally of the United States in that region. The countries like Turkey, Israel, Qatar, they funded that protest. How they funded that protest? Because they did not directly funded that protest, because the protest needed their money. Why the United States or the United Kingdom or France fomented such kind of fake protest? Because they wanted to remove Saddam Hussein from the power. They wanted to remove Muhammad Gaddafi from the power, who was the president of Libya at that time, and the Syrian president. But they failed to do so. They have been able to remove Gaddafi from power. But what happened to the Libya right now? Libya is a failed state. It is being ruled by the waremongers. It is divided into separate regions. Some peoples are ruling some regions, and they are fighting amongst each other. The Libya is doomed. What has happened to Iraq? Iraq is also doomed. There is no peace in Iraq. The people of Iraq and Libya are going to Europe. And they are disturbing the demography of Europe right now. The Europe is bearing the brunt of their own mistake. The people, those who are in Europe, they are all went from these regions, this Middle East region, went from Syria, some went to, some from Syria, some from Iraq, some from Libya, and some of the people from Sahel countries, Niger, Chad. These are the countries are also important. They have huge amounts of mineral resources. Sudan have huge amounts of oil. Not only oil, they have other mineral resources. But what the United States had did, United States have came up with a plan of the Arab Spring. Not the United States. I deep state. There is a involvement of the deep state. Deep state means there are peoples, those who have business interest in different countries. They helped the governments to do these kinds of operations. And you know about the Victoria Newland, what Victoria Newland did. The Victoria Newland was responsible of fomenting the Euromaidan. What was Euromaidan? The protest that was organized by the peoples of Ukraine in a ground called the Euro. In a ground, I mean, there was a protest against the government at that time, who was the governor. The president of that time deal with Russia and chose not to deal with European Union. What they did? They foment a protest against the government. Now, what is the result of Ukraine? Ukraine is a failed state. Their mineral-rich region is now captured by Russia, and they do not have anything to do. The Zelensky has almost destroyed Ukraine. The Ukraine is being bombed by Russia every day, every hour. What is the result? What the United States is trying to do? What is the goal of the United States by fomenting these kinds of problems? This is the interest of the military-industrial complex, because United States have a very, very large military-industrial complex. They have organizations like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, then Northrop Grumman. These are the organizations. They have billions of dollars of worth business, and they want to run their business. And how they will going to run their business? With the help of war. They want war. They want to export their weapons. That is the reason behind it. And they want their country to control the oil, because oil is the gold. They are saying that the lithium is the new gold. No, oil is still the black gold, and they want to control this gold. That is the wire of minerals, and these countries and these organizations are making money out of war. The peace is just a business. Where is the solution? I mean, the wire is the only way to making the money. That is why the wire is the solution for these countries. Recently, the Lockheed Martin CEO has visited India, and he met Prime Minister Modi. Why he met Prime Minister Modi? India is already importing a handsome amounts of weapons from Lockheed Martin. But what Indian government is not buying from what Lockheed Martin? That is the aircraft, military aircraft. India is not buying. Lockheed Martin has offered India F-21. What is F-21? The upgraded version of F-16. Why India will going to buy a plane which is old, which is a plane of the 1970s? Why India will going to buy that plane? Because they wants to sell. Because of that, India will going to buy. That cannot be the reasons. But they want India to buy this plane. And when India came up with a solution that what are the planes India will going to buy during 2016, then India came up with the solutions with Rafale. India bought Rafale, but something happened in India. You can recall that. There were several political figures, those who have talked about different kinds of things, but there was not, or Lockheed Martin was not responsible for it. There was another organizations, and we will going to talk about that in a different topic. But the problems was created. The Lockheed Martin want to sell their planes, sell their aircrafts. But why India does not want to buy this aircraft? Because when United States or these companies sell their goods, sell their aircrafts to any countries, they came up with conditions. Look at Pakistan. If Pakistan wants to fly F-16, then they have to take the order from the Washington first. Then they will be able to fly their planes. Then what is the meaning of having the planes during the time of war? So there is a no meaning of having the plane during the time of war if the countries are not going to able, if the India will not going to able to use this plane during the time of war, because India is facing the two front war. One is Pakistan and the another one is China. If United States will going to give India, or Washington will going to order India that India will not going to use F-21 against China, then what will going to happen to the Indian Air Force? You can clearly see the problems over here. So, but this is the desperation. Desperation is good for them because they are trying to do something which is unique, and when they will going to do something unique, they will going to make mistake. They will going to expose themselves, and the Indian government has to wait for their mistakes and then reveal their true face, that what they are doing in India against India, and what are the assets they are using against Indian government, because they do not want nationalism in any country. Nationalism is kind of a curse for the United States deep state. The deep states do not want nationalism because nationalism give rise to the love towards the country. That is why the United States is pushing the illegal immigrants. If the illegal immigrants are there in any country, then why do those peoples will going to have the similar kinds of love that the Native Americans means the Americans, those who are living there, the whites, blacks, they are loving their state in a different way. Why the immigrant will going to love the United States the way the world Americans are loving their country? There is a issue. So the issue is the nationalism. They want to curtail the influence of nationalism. So this is the end of the topic. If you have any question regarding this topic or any other topic, you can ask me on my comment sections. And thank you very much. Thank you for your support.